industrial process.
80% of those plantations are FSC certified as responsibly managed forests.
They're not forests. Plantations are not forests anyway.
It involves the use of chemicals, of heavy equipment.
To fulfill the overconsumption really in the north. It's not to benefit local people.
South Africa exports probably, 40%, 50% even of its total timber resource is exported in the form of wood chips for pulping in Japan.
A lot of decisions have been made unilaterally.
Our models for forestry have been very fixed.
We've trodden too hard.
We were into plantation forestry, into growing trees very fast, into making fiber, and just putting trees in wherever we possibly could.
About sustainable development. People should be engaged from the very onset.
People who are working in the plantation, there are around 50 people, and people who are not getting water are more than that.
People should be identifying what development should take place in their own land.
Does the country need more timber?
Plantation forest management has been done in this country to close to 100 years or more.
The trees that are being used are alien to the region. The eucalypts from Australia, pine trees originally from Mexico. They use a tremendous amount of water as they evergreen.
There are approximately 1.4 million hectares of formal plantation forestry in the country.
But there's a further 1.6 million hectares of unmanaged timber plantations. That's where these trees have spread into the most difficult to harvest areas, into the steep ravines. So in totality, it's more than 3 million hectares of South Africa. And that's some of the most biodiverse, the highest rainfall areas in South Africa, the best soils planted to timber.
The industry has created this false illusion that they are plantations, that is, are forests. And they continue to perpetuate this illusion by using this thing called the Forest Stewardship Council, which certifies plantations and calls them sustainably or responsibly managed forests.
We follow sustainable practices that are acknowledged by other people around the world. And if we look at the history of forestry management for South Africa for the past 100 years, we can point out economic, social, and environmental benefits.
Certification has forced the forestry sector to become far more environmentally conscious, far more environmentally responsible, to clear tens of thousands of hectares of land. The upper reaches of Lake St. Lucia have been cleared, riparian zones across Mpumalanga, across KwaZulu-Natal have been cleared and are now being managed in ways that would not have happened had it not been for certification.
FSC they've got their principles and criteria which were designed for forests, and they've been applied to industrial timber plantations here in South Africa. And 80% of South Africa's industrial timber plantations are FSC certified.
What we import, it's about 13 billion per year for forestry as an industry. What we export, the latest figures, that would be 2008 figures, we exported about 16 or 17 billion, and our net was about 3 billion. That is what we added to the margins of the country.
You're not supposed to be able to certify trees which are invasive. Both pine trees and eucalyptus trees and wattle trees, they are extremely invasive.
Economically, you have to, as a country, earn foreign revenue because it makes a difference to your balance book. What we should be saying as forestry is that where possible, we should have as much beneficiation as possible.
Plantations are not supposed to be certified if they have a negative impact on stream flow.
The 14 odd billion that we export, 40% of that is paper. Pulp, it's about 30%, 2% is other, and 24% is solid wood.
Near Nelspruit, Ngordwane is the largest mill in southern Africa and privately owned. The paper and pulp industry is the main driver of plantation expansion and utilizes 2/3 of wood produced. In the same area, the Sidwala caves are being impacted.
The caves have become incredibly dry and progressively drier over the past couple of years since the newly established timber plantation in the cave catchment is now maturing.
We believe that the FSC is encouraging overall higher consumption of these products globally. That, in turn, creates the demand for more tree plantations on more community land for more water.
All these certified forests are supposed to enhance soil biological matter and long-term soil sustainability. The soils here are being impoverished and degraded. How can they be FSC certified? That's the question, and it's a very difficult answer. Follow the money.
Currently, 70% of the plantations in South Africa are owned by private people or private companies. Only 30% of the plantations are owned by the state.
And here in South Africa and here in this region, it's not forests which are threatened, it's grasslands. We need to get more emphasis on the protection of this very, very scarce and valuable grassland.
For more than a decade, Geosphere has been creating awareness about the impact of timber plantations.
In Mpumalanga, most of the mist belt or the escarpment area has been planted to timber. That's our highest rainfall areas, and that's our catchment areas for the rivers which flows to the Lowveld and to the sea.
Historically, we'll see a lot of areas that have gone under trees that probably shouldn't have gone under trees, or too much of an area, or too much land that has gone under trees without consideration of the people downstream.
So basically all people that's living underneath these timber plantations, underneath these catchments, are impacted upon because of their rivers physically running dry.
The National Water Act was Act 36 of 1998. Just put a lot of constraint on that grabbing of resources and a recognition that resources actually belong to everybody, the rivers included. Most forestry is not as yet licensed. Forestry, like all other water users, qualifies as an existing lawful use if it was in place, legally, lawfully in place, over the period 1996 to 1998. Until they can get around to doing that licensing, forestry can continue in much the same way.
How much water do these exotic, fast-growing trees and plantations utilize? One tree draws a minimum of 25 litres per day, the equivalent to the basic free daily allocation for each South African. Now, 1 hectare of plantation land has a minimum of 1,000 trees. So, if we exclude the unmanaged hectares, then 1.5 million hectares of managed timber plantations means a minimum of 1.5 billion trees, which are drawing 37.5 billion litres of water per day. If we compare that to a rounded-off population figure using the 25-litre basic allocation per day, that amounts to 1.25 billion litres per day for people, which means that timber plantations use 30 times more water than the population's daily basic free allocation.
The amount of water that is used by the industry, it's a concern, but people need to look at the bigger picture. It's a percentage of what? It's less than 4%.
Many communities do not have reliable access to clean water. Meanwhile, water charges on timber plantations are so low that researchers have calculated that were plantations to be charged adequately, the profit margin could be reduced by up to 30%.
Historically, the land timber industry has been linked to forced removal of African people from their areas, and post-94 we have seen a continuation of that land denial by timber plantations being pushed more into these rural communities.
The green plague, the green desert that covers this whole area, the largest plantations in the world, have displaced thousands and thousands of people. The these big Mondi and Sappi kind of things. They went in, they made sure that nobody could move back by bulldozing all the old farmhouses and stuff that were there. Plus, they took all the best land. Anything, if you're driving along and you want to know how much rainfall there is, if there's a plantation there, you know there's more than 2,000 millimeters a year.